What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Jane was right, and Vaughn was talking good sense as well. Gazel was convinced he'd make the same decision if he was in the Empire's shoes. He felt pity for the poor soldiers and officers who had to come along with him. But as the invaders, that's on them. Gazel was known as a wise king, but he had no intention of taking responsibility for an empire currently engaging in hostilities with him. He wasn't obligated to anyway. All he could do was coldly speculate on what the future would bring.
Out of the 940,000 imperial soldiers who invaded the forest of Jura, 240,000 are already lost forever. By this point, I don't think there's any questioning Rimuru's final victory.
That's fair, yes. It'd be pretty cute of him if he got caught off guard at this point. But Lord Rimuru is hardly that kind of buffoon.
Vaughn wistfully agreed with Gazel. But the question on everyone's mind, how much more of a sacrifice was the Empire willing to tolerate?
We will need to keep careful records of this war, so we can use it as a lesson for the future. And we should remember all the more that we, as humans, must never rile a demon lord.
Yes, my lord.
The strength of these monsters, shattering conventional war strategy, even as its sheer depths remained untapped, was now clearly something that could approach a catastrophe-sized threat. Quite fortuitous, then, that the goal of Rimuru and his cohorts was to live hand in hand with humanity, not dominate the world. The Empire was simply getting what it deserved, but to keep their sacrifice from going to waste, Gazel wanted to see this battle through to the end. And despite it all, he still had to prepare for the worst possible outcome. If Rimuru was ever to turn against him, well, he prayed that would never happen, but what if it did? What should they do? Gazel had boasted to his closest confidants that he trusted Rimuru, but by that, he only meant Rimuru as a person. As the leader of a nation, he also had to take the best measures possible to prevent hurting his people. Just because he didn't have a good answer yet didn't mean he was excused from pondering the question. That being said, taking on a primal is a fool's errand, and we're not much more likely to ever defeat Veldora. My hands are tied, really. Faced with a question far too difficult to ever answer, Gazel began to feel a headache coming on.
Volume 13, Chapter 3, Battle of the Labyrinth, Part 1.
I do remember saying something like, give your all, yes, don't worry, I'm not losing my marbles yet. It's only been around 3 years since I was reincarnated, even. No need to worry about that. But still. As I watched the big screen, I began to wonder if those words were really mine after all. Did I really say that? After all, the screen was showing my army pretty much kicking everyone's ass out there. Which is great. Super. No problems there. But the content was just too much to watch. It was such a lopsided thrashing that I just kept my mouth agape the whole time. Gopta was acting very cool, very non-Gopta-like, as he stormed around the battlefield and crushed tanks with his bare hands. Unified with Ranga, he both looked and raged like someone who deserved being called part of the Big Four. And Gabble, to his credit, had transformed into a real strong-looking dragon-ish kind of monster, smashing up enemy ships with some kind of crazy powerful energy reaction. And not just him, everyone on Team Harayu had undergone transformations too. I realized at once that this was dragon body at work, but since when had they mastered it so well? Also, that dragon body skill, something I left for later and never got to, I had no idea it was so amazing. It's got a time limit, and you can only be active in it for around 10 minutes, I guess. But the crazy power more than makes up for the disadvantages. It'd be suicide if you used it the wrong way, but it's a nice little card to add to your deck, I think. But even Gabble and company lost the spotlight to that giant mid-air explosion. I don't know what the heck they did, but the enemy's flagship had a thermonuclear meltdown or something, and it took out the Empire's entire airship force with it. That surprised even me, but as a result, the Empire's air power was essentially destroyed, every single ship crashed to the ground. That kicked off a major offensive by the Tempest forces. With Gopta's and Gabble's forces joining up, everyone could see that we had gained the upper hand in the war. Even in modern warfare, helicopters had an overwhelming advantage against tanks, and in much the same way, Team Harayu was mostly using breath attacks from the air, inflicting heavy, one-sided damage on the Empire's ground forces. And because they were such small targets, the tank guns weren't even a threat. Really, as long as they don't hit you, it's not worth worrying about. The Empire didn't just sit there and take a beating. Of course, they tried fighting back several times, but we squashed every attempt they put up. The big performers in that respect were Veyron and Zonda under Ultima's command. Those two were definitely old demons, alright. They seemed to have an eye for spotting the strongest among their foes, and regardless of whether they were squad captains or regular soldiers, they only chose the most powerful, and tore them apart. Their butler and cook outfits, respectively, weren't exactly appropriate, but for the Imperial troops, they became a symbol of fear. Looking at the enemy's supply units, Hakuro was slashing away at them with his sword, offering no mercy. Apparently some of them even tried to introduce themselves first. I am ranked 97th, and so on, but Hakuro's white blade made them spew blood before they could finish.
Forgive me,
He said to the bleeding masses.
Sir Rimuru is watching this battle. He has ordered us to go at full power, and thus I can offer you no mercy.
That really wasn't how I meant it, but now I understand how much of a big deal it was to them. You know, though, I couldn't really withdraw that order now. If I butted in at this point, it'd just cause confusion on the field. So I took the long view and decided to watch how the battle unfolded. This turned out to be a pretty good decision. Frankly, the Imperial soldiers Veyron, Zonda, and Hakuro picked off were equal to or better than paladins in ability. That, and their gear was pretty insane, even better than the spiritual armor worn by paladins, legend class in quality. Looking at the big picture, they were way stronger than any of those guys, a fact that shocked me when Raphael gave me the results. I wasn't sure how they got this kind of equipment, but they did, and that was that. Maybe the people granted this gear were the heavily rumored Imperial Guardians, huh? Gadra told me about them. This group handpicked from the best the Empire had to offer, including other worlders. There were around 100 of them, he said, and I guess the rank stuff they mentioned was proof of their membership. If people like that were given a chance to really strut their stuff, things might have been a lot more chaotic out there. It was smart of us to take them out before they were fully ready, just like Hakuro did. Veyron and Zonda did the same, too, taking action before anyone knew what was going on. They all had a good eye for spotting the most fearsome of our foes, like they had stats floating above their heads. If all their champions had bonded together, I don't think killing them would have been so simple, but it's their fault for being careless on the field. Got a problem with that? Well, you should have gone all out from the start. That, of course, could be said for us as well. If we showed any needless mercy to the enemy, there was a good chance they'd take advantage of it. If that happened, the damage would have been unthinkable. I refused to let us do anything foolish like hurt a friend to rescue an enemy soldier. I couldn't help but want to show a little compassion sometimes, but that would be the same as letting up because I assumed victory was in the bag. We were fighting a war here, best to keep our minds hardened and let them all do their best till the end. So regarding the surrender I was expecting to receive from them. Well, while I was admiring the exploits of Hakuro and the gang, something strange was going on in the Empire's command HQ.
Report. Activation of the large-scale destructive magic death streak confirmed. The user is the subject Testarossa.
Hearing Raphael's report, I hurriedly projected things on the big screen. There they were, Testarossa and Ultima, standing around with big smiles. Nobody else was alive. The nearly 1,000 tanks the Empire had left were silenced, all the infantry deployed around them fallen. It'd have to be in the tens of thousands, I estimated. Death streak, was it? That's one ridiculously dangerous spell.
Understood. Death streak is a type of nuclear magic, a magical death ray that kills all living creatures. As a side effect,
Raphael was happy to analyze and explain the situation to me, but I really don't think I could be blamed for almost shouting, "Don't use that kind of dangerous magic." Ultima's nuclear blast was called nuclear flame, apparently, but this move seemed several times more dangerous. Not that Testarossa was stopping her, either, but either way, the moment that spell triggered, that pretty much decided the match. There were no surviving enemy commanders left, and it was only a matter of time before we weeded out the remaining troops. So our battle with the Empire over on the Dwarven Kingdom side ended in a fantastic victory for us. The Imperial Army, which we considered to be a decoy, was annihilated, literally wiped off the face of the earth, and not just in strategic terms, either. It was absurd. I didn't think telling them to go all out would result in something like this. Also, Benimaru was starting to act a bit scary.
If this was the result, was there any damn point to my strategy in the first place? What the hell's up with our intelligence officers down there? You said they were under your control, Sir Rimuru, but can you explain this please?
Yes, I had been keeping a few things to myself. Benimaru didn't need to yell at me with a freaky smile like that. I mean, you know, did we really have a strategy at all? And look, Benimaru, you're not the only one who wants an explanation. In fact, I want to get some answers on this, too. But I couldn't just shout out everything on my mind, so I glanced at Veldora for some assistance. He averted his eyes. I knew this in advance, but it was pointless to rely on Veldora for situations like this. The same went for Ramirez, she wouldn't pitch in, either.
No, I told you, right? Those are the new guys that Diablo recruited and brought in for us.
I know they're Diablo's people.
No dancing around the topic, then. Ah well, so I decided to be honest and tell him everything. If it was Benimaru and Geld, I was sure that revealing that these ladies were super freaky primals would be greeted with a smile and a nod. Besides, Diablo was responsible for everything related to them, so if something came up, we could discuss it then. Armed with this theory, I prepared to tell the truth.
So, do you know what a primal is?
A primal?
Benimaru didn't seem to, but Shuna, currently offering us some coffee, interrupted.
You're referring to the Seven Sovereigns, the source of all demons? I overheard a conversation about them the other day, so I got curious and looked it up, but I was surprised to see that Diablo is one of them.
I didn't know the primals, the origins of all demons, had such a fancy moniker. And really, why was Shuna smiling so peacefully as she unveiled all this classified information? The smell of coffee drifted across the control center, easing the tension a bit. Benimaru seemed confused.
Oh, you didn't know, my brother? Well, it's not just Diablo. Testarossa, Carrera, and Ultima are all sovereigns of Demondom as well.
They are?
They are.
Shuna's smile almost blinded me. Faced with it, Benimaru could no longer state any doubt. And seeing him fall silent like that, I thought, wow, Shuna's actually a pretty big deal, huh? I was steeling myself to tell this horrifying secret, but having it revealed so readily was sort of a disappointment. Kinda felt better this way, though.
Diablo, I want you to explain it.
Very well, Sir Rimuru. Benimaru, I must admit that I am, as she says, a primal demon.
I sipped at my coffee as I listened to Diablo's speech. Tea is great and all, but I do like me some coffee, too.
Alright, I understand.
Benimaru said.
That certainly explains everyone's strength, then, but if that's the case, I wish you had told me about it from the beginning.
Well, you know.
I began.
I thought people would get all scared if they knew the truth. Me and Veldora are one thing, but I didn't want you guys to have more unnecessary stuff to worry about.
I was worried for my friends, so I kept quiet. I made sure to emphasize only that point. Let's not dwell on how I gave them bodies and names and stuff, if we could.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Sanketh Chelu, Minotaur, Chad Vauta, I Like Anime, Ray Perez, Chris Guzman, Speed Saber, James Waters, Arijit Das, Quilly Buckner, Curtis Loban, Darius King, Judah Herrera, Just a Guy, Jason Martin, Michelle W. Hernandez, Donald Williams, Moab A, Day of Light, John M, John Charles, Godman Gaming, Akon Angok, Markithian Tidwell, Andre L. Hamilton, Sean Sinclair, Kumo, T. Bush, Chang, John L, Masiaj Besaraba, James, Tojam, Edgar Fuentes, JV, Gonsi Direco, Thomas, J, Christ, Joshua Cousins, Jose Hernandez, Vethelny, Lunel Scarlett, Khalid, John Wong, Mika Pekarinen, Christian Deshazer, Cal Robs, Divine C. Harris, KCH 1999, Destiny Smith, Juice, Panda Cats, Aaron Alarcon, DeAndre Nance, Oz Hunter, Monty Boy 98, D-Man, Divinay, Wise Viking, Ruben, Luis Caro, Pedro Robles, Ono Morman, Jordan, Kemal Ebanks, Chris Duncan Jr., Isaac, Shadow Wolf 660, Koala King 93, Devon, RN Bart, Little 95, Coyote de Peza, This Is Not My Username, Mizzle Bizzle, Zephyros, Alver, Normal Defate, Vicente Baharias, Joshua Andrade, Jaya Keshav, Gary Miles, Dragon Spawn 666, Adrian, Marvin Emmerich, Alex Gomez, J. Rule, Wenky Fu, Nate, Big Q, Sayonori, Blaine Trevino, J. Wright, Alfredo Renteria, Lil Tier, Liron Sangkap, Eric Tass, Lucas Ge, Zippy Soap, Draviel Swan, Christopher Mash, Edward Garcia, BFGR, Ilex Y, Rory M. Brassel, QWERTY Stan, Sri Nanduri, Chris Ben. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.